Good morning and welcome to our webinar. Today we have a special treat. We've got one of our own members doing a presentation on Microsoft Teams. Most of you are familiar with Peter Wolf from Azamba Consulting Group, and he's been our go-to man for CRM for a long, long time, both as the Sage and as the Dynamics solution provider, as well as just really providing some great information and sharing with the group. Today, we're going to have a little bit more casual style. If you feel like you want to go ahead and talk and participate directly, you can always hit *6 and unmute your line and ask a question. Or if you feel more comfortable, we'll go ahead and use traditional style of going ahead and posting your questions in the question section on the GoToWebinar. And periodically, we will stop and take a look at those questions and get answers directly from Peter. So I'm ready. If you are, Peter, take it away.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to get going. So guys, I've just put together a little bit of a PowerPoint just because I know people are used to PowerPoints, but I'm going to fly through this pretty quickly. And if you have questions as we go through, just put them in the chat or like Moira said, just unmute and ask me. I want this to be more conversational. One of the things I told Moira was I want to make sure everyone understands I am not some sort of guru on the mountaintop when it comes to Teams. We have been using it since October, and it has literally transformed our business. I'm going to share with you some of the things that we've learned, our goals for Teams, what have we learned that works, what doesn't work, how we've built up engagement, and then I'm going to go into the actual product and actually show you like some of the quirks of the product because it is still evolving. So it's a work in process. So if you're familiar with things like Slack is a lot more mature, a lot more stable in my opinion, but Teams is freaking amazing. Plus it integrates with Office, plus Microsoft is spending a crap ton of money on evolving this thing. So they are putting out new features all the time, and it is getting a lot of attention and love at Microsoft. And Microsoft Corporation is actually using it internally to collaborate across the world with their, I don't even know, 150,000 employees, maybe 300,000 employees, a crazy number of employees. So if they can do it, certainly we can use it for our own businesses. Okay, so I'm going to jump in real quickly. Quickly, a little bit about us. You know, our whole goal over here is helping small and medium-sized businesses, you know, with CRM. And most of our businesses through partners like you all. So I probably have worked with many of you on the call. I'm going to skip ahead from here. So our challenges are the same as most of yours. We're a small business. You know, we have 12 people right now. We're in a competitive services industry. And, you know, yes, our customers love us for the most part, different degrees. Some customers really love us. Some customers are ambivalent to us. I'm sure you all have the same situation. We have a distributed team. I don't have an office. Everybody in my employ is scattered to the winds. I mean, I have 4 people in the Chicagoland area with me, but, you know, I've got 2 guys in Canada, a guy in California, you know, some people on the East Coast. So we're all over the place, and our customers are all over the place. And I think the big difference between my business and a lot of yours is I rarely see my customers. So that's another challenge that I face because we do most of our business through partners. Most of our customers are not seeing us face to face. I'm not going to San Francisco to help implement a 5-seat CRM deal. It just wouldn't be efficient for the customer, and it wouldn't be efficient for us. So that's an extra challenge that we have. But for the most part, I think our needs are common to most of yours. We're seeing a growing need to be more responsive to our customers. So customers just are no longer happy with sending emails to the consultant and waiting or putting a phone call and leaving a message. I know Wayne is like an amazing returner of emails and phone calls, but for our company, we always struggled with this. If we had 25 customers emailing us, it's just hard to prioritize and organize and get, you know, strategic about responding. And customers are no longer accepting of that poor response time or, you know, quote unquote lost emails. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but we've experienced that too often. And the lost factor is usually because we've gotten so many emails that it's just hard to keep up with the volume. And you'll hear today, emails is a real sore point for me personally. I get hundreds of emails a day, and I'm not talking about spam. And so for me, it's really hard for me to stay on top of all those things. So one of my personal goals with moving to Teams was to reduce my email inflow and get everything centralized, and we're all on the same page without using email. The second big challenge I think that most of us face is just improved connections. So even if you are seeing your customers face to face, what we're finding is customers want someone that understands their business and are really connected with their needs and their pain points and their opportunities and their challenges. I've been in 90 Minds for a long time. I've been, working the partner channel a long time. I know we all want to be the trusted advisor, but what does that really mean? A lot of us, for a lot of our customers, are just technology people. We do break fix work. That is not really what customers want any longer. It's one of the reasons why people are moving to the cloud. They don't want to have to worry about servers and technology issues and databases. They want to operate their business efficiently, effectively, just like we all want to. And they want to just depend on their technology to serve their business needs, not to focus on the technology. So I think that this is really important for us, and it was important for us to provide our customers with that service. And one of the things that Wayne and I have had a separate conversation about the teams is, how do you get engagement in teams? I sincerely believe that customers want engagement. Not every customer, and of course there's always a bell curve of our customers, but I think most customers want to be engaged with us. They want our advice. They want to share their business needs with us. We just have to make it easy for them to do so. So I'm going to talk about that today. And then just efficient coordination. One of the challenges that I've always run into, and literally some of those hundreds of emails I get every day, are just the inefficiencies of the way we coordinate our activities remotely. And it doesn't even necessarily, it isn't unique to us because we're a remote workforce. It can happen with people in the same office. Is how are we serving that customer? Who's doing the work? When has it been done? What stage are they on? Where are we in the process with helping them? And, just getting all that coordinated. You can use something like Microsoft Project, or if you've got a service billing tool built into Sage 100, you could use that, of course. But for us, we just needed to do a better job here. It also leads to this first point here, which is customers want a fair price for the work at hand. I know many of you are probably still doing hourly billing. That's fine. But we just inherited a customer from another Sage CRM partner who they had spent 20 hours on a really simple issue. The customer called me and they were at their wit's end. And I said, this is honestly, it's a simple issue. And we solved that problem in 15 minutes for them. And customers are tired of spending time with money with, spinning the wheels. They want a fair price for the work at hand. So that requires all of us to coordinate properly. Sometimes it's coordinating with our own team. Sometimes it's coordinating with Sage. Sometimes it's coordinating with the 90 Minds group. So if you run into issues, kick it out to the group and get an answer from the 90 Minds, the shared brain power. So here's what we were doing before 2019, and truthfully, we started this whole process in mid-2018. But our two main customer service avenues, again, I think there's a lot very similar to what you all face, is implementation and adoption of the software. We have particular challenges with CRM because unlike ERP, usually there's no one person managing it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and the customer has this perception of CRM as being some silver bullet for them, when it really it can fall into disuse pretty quickly. We've struggled with that for 10 plus years. We're still struggling with it, but we're better at it now. The other thing that we do is, just like you all, ongoing support during implementation, but also post-implementation. A lot of our clients we inherit from other partners who have dropped the ball with their CRM services, and that's fine. But either way, it's those two things that we do. The tools that we use for this is we built a Sage CRM portal, a support portal. We call it our OnTrack portal. It used to be called Caretaker. So if any of you work with us, you may have seen Caretaker, but we've rebranded it as OnTrack. And it allows the customers to feed issues into the portal. It goes to our help desk. The team is always monitoring the portal. We have automations around this that we can make sure that something doesn't just sit in the queue for a long time. We also have it tiered so that customers that are on our basic plan, they get slower responses than the premium plan. And that's intentional because we want to serve our A+ customers, the people in first class first. And that's just a discussion for a different day. A lot of emails. I have grown to hate emails. I think emails are one of the banes of society, and I understand their purpose in life, but I've really grown to hate emails. They're a source of constant stress for me. True story, I know this sounds really weird, but a couple years ago, I would be like reading my emails and almost passing out because what I realized was I was so stressed out reading all my emails that I was holding my breath. And I found out that this is a very common thing for people, that they hold their breath when they get stressed out, and so I was getting lightheaded. So, so for me, this may seem like a dumb story to share, but for me, I just really hated emails. I wanted to get away from emails and get into a more positive, constructive way to communicate with customers. Spreadsheets and of course phone calls. People call and want to talk to you. That's a natural thing. That's great. We want to support that. We were using Skype internally. So for those of you that don't know, Skype is a combination of a chat tool plus you could do phone calls through it, and it's just a way to coordinate. Microsoft has discontinued Skype in favor of Teams. That was actually one of the big drivers for us. Is we had been using Skype. We weren't that happy with Skype, though. I'll be honest. It served a purpose, but it wasn't like something that we were stoked to use every day. It was a necessary evil. We used GoToMeeting. We still use GoToMeeting a lot, but for internal conversations, we were using GoToMeeting. So we needed everyone. We had so many licenses of GoToMeeting, it's sick. But now we can use Teams to do informal, quick meetings. We don't use our Teams for our customer meetings just yet, so we're still using GoToMeeting. But as Teams continues to improve, I would imagine we stop using GoToMeeting. And we use OneDrive just to share files and to coordinate files both internally, but also we could share with customers. So what results did we have with this old way? I mean, again, it's a bell curve, right? Some customers were super happy with the way we were servicing them, but for the most part, it was frustration for all parties. For customers, it was fine. These old tools here were fine 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but people have higher expectations these days. We weren't moving fast enough. We weren't being engaged enough. We weren't friendly enough. With our phone calls. Part of that was our own internal stress with just managing the flow of information and trying to service the customers. And internally, what I found was we were focused more on break-fix work. I hate break-fix work. There's no value in break-fix work. If I could outsource our break-fix work to another company, I would. What my passion is helping customers reach their business goals. We can't do that if we're focused on break-fix work. The other part of it is when customers call about break-fix work, they're calling about an unhappy situation. I want customers to call us because they have a huge opportunity to expand their business and we can help them, and they look into us to help them accelerate that opportunity. That's the thing that gets me excited. That's the thing that gets the customers excited. We're also tripping over ourselves too often. Things were siloed. I would get calls from customers where, and I still get this to a smaller extent, but it really has been eradicated with Teams, where a customer might say, Steve hasn't gotten back to me yet. I sent him several emails and phone calls and, he hasn't gotten back to me. And I would go to Steve, my consultant, and I would say, Steve, it seems like you haven't gotten back to him. Oh, that's not true. Here's my email. And Steve would send me the email that he sent to the customer just last week, and the customer hadn't responded to it yet. And so there's a lot of that he said, she said, just frankly bullshit that is just a waste of time for all of us. What we want to focus on is customer resolution, not on he said, she said stuff. So one of the big things about Teams that you're going to see is putting our customers in Teams is it makes full transparency. There's no more he said, she said. I can see that the customer asked for this, the consultant replied this way, and maybe the customer did a follow-up that the consultant missed, or maybe the customer didn't follow up. But either way, it's all there for all of us, so we can focus on serving the customer, not on who did what when and who didn't do what when. And we were disconnected and disengaged from each other. So Skype was fine, but it's also very interruptive. It's not really collaborative in nature. So we need to just be more engaged with each other to serve the customers better. So I turned 50 last year. So part of that was, in part because I was turning 50, and your mind. I don't know how many of you on the call are 50, but I really started thinking about what's the end game. What am I really doing in life? Am I happy? I've made a decent living. I've made money over the years. I've owned my own business for 25 years. I'm doing this for not just the money, but to serve customers. And I said to myself, how can I do this better? How can I make customers happier? How can I make customers ecstatic and really just understand our value? Partly this is self-serving because a lot of our business now is recurring revenue. So we have about $1 million in recurring revenue right now, which is crazy big. I mean, we started 4 years ago with like next to nothing, and I've slowly been selling customers on these recurring revenue plans versus these implementation plans, these one-time implementation plans. And it's been a challenge. The biggest challenge, though, is the renewals. Why should I renew with you guys? We're up and running. Why should I renew? So what we wanted to do is, again, it's a little self-serving, but we want to create a golden handcuff for our customers. So we create so much value, so much insane service that they couldn't imagine living without us. And our commitment on that side is to increase that value every year. I tell my team it's like Amazon Prime. Every year, Amazon has to renew those Prime customers, and they keep raising their rates too. And that doesn't happen if they don't keep increasing value. So that's our goal, is we're always increasing our value. We miss the mark sometimes. We're not perfect, but that's our goal. That's our focus, is to drive crazy value to our customers through our on-track plans so that they continue to subscribe to our service. Internally, we also want to run more efficiently and effectively. I want to double my business and keep my headcount pretty much the same. I think we can do that. Some of this is all about not reinventing the wheel. So when a customer asks you for a report, what we've moved to is a more packaged services model. So some of these things we include in our on-track. If you're an on-track customer, you get access to packaged services. You get access to our collaboration tool, the Teams tool. So we just want to run effectively and efficiently and resell packaged IP. Most importantly, too, I want to stop tripping over each other. I don't want those emails about so-and-so didn't reply. I don't want the customer to send me any email except for, holy crap, you guys are amazing. Those are the emails I want. And the tools that we had weren't doing it. So we looked to the new tools. So the big primary goal was to break down silos. No more emails, no more Skype one-on-one conversations, no more phone calls. Well, not no more phone calls, but less reliance on phone calls and more reliance on collaborative communication. We wanted to get connected with our customers and with each other. Secondary goal was just make everything easier. It just, I don't know how many of you struggle with this, and maybe I'm overemphasizing this, but for us, and maybe it's because we are a distributed workforce, but it was challenging. There are still challenges, but it's just difficult to stay connected and to keep everybody on the same page. Teams has definitely made this easier. I'm going to get into that here real quick. I only have one more slide left. So the technology we chose to move towards, and partly this was because Skype was being discontinued, partly because, as Stephen Kelly came on to Sage and eviscerated the Sage CRM side of the business, I needed to go somewhere else. And so we started picking up Microsoft Dynamics. And I'm really happy that we've done so because there's so much stuff that Microsoft is doing. Part of that is Teams. Part of it is the bots and automation that Microsoft is doing. If you're on Office 365, you have access to some of these automations, and they're crazy cool. I know Steve Malmgren did a session on the Office 365 API. That's really just scratching the surface of all the really cool things that you can do with the Microsoft technologies these days. But so we went down this route. The other thing that we did was, instead of using spreadsheets to create work plans for implementations, we created a custom web application to spoon feed our customer journey through adoption. In big part, this was because, I know this sounds crazy, but CRM adoption rates suck, and they still suck. And I've been doing this for 20 years, and I just keep revving the engine and trying to make it better and better for our customers and easier to implement and easier to stay on CRM and build new habits around it. And I'm pretty happy with where we are, and we're still evolving it. It used to be every 2 years we evolved our customer journeys to improve and, based on feedback and real world results. Now we're doing it every 6 months. We're improving our web application. I'm going to show you that real quickly just to show you guys, because I think you guys could do it on the ERP side too. So the results. So I'm going to sprinkle this in a little bit as I show the software, but overall, especially for our customers that were doing it the old way with us, I am getting, and I know this might sound like BS, but I am getting unsolicited customer feedback saying, holy crap, you guys are just knocking it out of the park these days. Customers are happy. New customers are happy too. Again, bell curve, right? Not every customer is happy. Not every customer is as engaged. We have customers that we've explained the importance of our plan and how CRM fails, and we give them the plan that's like step by step. And literally, I have customers that have come back to me and said, oh, we're not going to do it that way. We're just going to do it our own way. And I'm like, why did you buy our plan then? And of course, the answer is, oh, no, we want you to help us, but we don't want to do it your way. Okay, so it is what it is, but overall, happy customers. So I think at this point, I'm going to break. This is all very high level and motivational, like why we did these things. But is there any questions right now? I don't know, Moira, if you have any questions coming through on the panel.
Actually, the only thing that came through is somebody was wondering if this was going to be recorded. I think that they're hanging on every word right now, so keep going.
Okay, good. Or I've bored everyone to death, which my wife tells me that happens. So it is what it is. All right, so I'm going to switch over to Teams. So this is the Teams interface, and you can run Teams. I'm going to do some real high-level stuff, and I'm going to get more detailed as I go forward. So this is the Teams application. I strongly recommend people use the application. You can also use the website in a pinch, but the application gives you more functionality, more control. It's kind of like if any of you use Office 365. Yes, you can use it on the cloud, but if you download the app, it's a lot more stable. It's a lot more functionality. It just works cleaner. The cool thing about Teams too is, and this is nothing revolutionary new, we're all used to this now, but Microsoft has done a great job of making this accessible with wherever I am and whatever device I'm on. So I have it on my Droid phone, I have it on my iPad tablet. If I'm at my relative's house, I can pull up the web application in a pinch. So it's everywhere you go. It's omnipresent, which is so great because now I'm connected with my team and my customers everywhere I go. The other thing that Microsoft has done is they've kind of created this bar over here on the left, which is your main area. So I want to run through this real quickly. Activity is if anybody has mentioned you or mentioned a group that you're in. So it requires special notice. So if you mention someone, it's like Facebook. There's nothing revolutionary. You guys are all on the technology side, so I'm gonna assume that you mostly know most of these things or understand them. I'm gonna kind of go over them pretty quickly. If you have questions about how it works, let me know. But one of the tips around this is we always instruct our customers and each other that if you just put a conversation into a team, you should assume no one's reading it. I know it sounds dumb, but you should assume, I mean, you can see, look at all these teams I have. You should assume if you put something in here, it'll show up as black, which means that there's an unread message in there. But if you want my attention, you would do, I can't even do myself, it looks like. Okay, so I can't tag myself, unfortunately, to show you guys. But if you @mention someone, it puts a little red mark down here, and it'll show you how many activities, how many places you've been @mentioned, so you can start to let that stress really build up and let yourself know, holy cow, I'm 20 messages behind. It happens. But so if you @mention someone, it'll put it in red here, but it'll also put it in red here. So you'll see a red icon that says, hey, you got to pay attention to this group because someone's asking for you specifically. But that's an important rule of engagement and our customers sometimes need to be swatted a little bit more because it's not their full-time job like it is ours to use Teams. But if what we do for our customers is we monitor the teams just to make sure that no one has missed the mark and just said, hey, can someone call me back? We've seen that before. It's not very good, but we just try to stay on top of it. But @mention is the most important thing to do. And if you want everyone in the whole team to see something, actually I should be able to do this @Azamba Conference. So if I do this, you'll see it turns up in red here. And I'm not getting an activity feed, probably because I did it myself. But if this had been someone else doing this, I would see a number here. Okay, so enough of that. The chat is where you do one-on-one chats. So you can do, actually not just one-on-one, but you can do chats with individuals, and people will show up recently based on last time you spoke with them, or you can go to the contacts and look up all of your people that are in your group. You can also create groups of contacts. So what's interesting is the structure of Teams is around these groups of people called teams. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But you can also do informal chats. So I could have chats with my marketing person, Brian, or I could have chats with my technical team, Dinesh and Abrar. And you can create groups by hitting this little new chat button. I can chat with an entire group that's already existing, or I can do at Abrar. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Oh, because I was using the at. You don't need to use the at here. Dinesh. So I can just do this and say test message only. And they would both be on this group. And what you can do is really cool up here is you can name your groups. And I recommend that you do this. If you have groups of people that you talk to, you name your groups. And that way, when you see your list, you'll see these groups pop up here. Why would you use a chat instead of a team? Sometimes it might be confidentiality. So if I have the Azamba team, but I just want to talk to Dinesh and Abrar about a specific issue, about a customer's environment, and the customers told me they don't want everyone to know about it. They just want the support team to take care of something. I might do that. Or if it's a sticky matter about a customer and a customer is complaining, it's not good habit to air customer grievances in public. I'd probably go to the consultant responsible and say, it seems like we missed the mark here. What can we do to turn this around? So you could do one-on-one chats. And with these chats, either one-on-one or group chats, you can do everything you can do in a main team. You can share a file. You can put messages out here. You can put videos out here, and you can collaborate. So you can do everything that you need to do. When you're in a chat too, there's a couple buttons up here I want to cover because these get used a lot. You can do a video call. So Microsoft Teams acts like Skype. You can video call someone. If you have a screen share or a camera, you can share each other's smiling faces. You can do a phone call right through Teams. You can do a screen share. So for us internally, we used to do a lot of GoToMeetings. For internal team meetings, we rarely do GoToMeetings anymore. We just do start screen share. This is so freaking amazing change. So in the old days on Skype, I would be talking with Eric, and we'd be like, "Hey, do you have time to look at this document before I send it over to the partner or the customer?" And we'd have to go set up a GoToMeeting and do that. It's not a lot of time, but it's just one of those little inefficiencies. Now what I do is say, "Oh yeah, sure." I hit the start share, and we look at the screen together. This little thing here is simple, but you can just add additional people into the team. What it will do is it'll create a new team though. So like this technical support team, if I added someone else new in, it would bifurcate it and create a new group for you, which is good because this technical support team will have the preserved thread. Actually, I'm sorry guys, there's an option here. It says, do you want to allow the new person to see the old stuff, or is it a brand new conversation? Okay. One more thing I want to show you about Teams is you can just start chatting. That's fine. You can also do this thing, which is a more advanced thing. So if you want to draw special attention to something, you can use this format editor. So you can format things. It is extremely limited. It is not designed to be Microsoft Word. It's not designed to do deluxe documents and treatments, but you can do some really cool things, just draw attention to a particular post. All right, I'm going to move over to Teams here. So the Teams is the heart of it. These are teams set up for, the way to think about Teams is it's groups of people around a common purpose. So we have a personal finance team. I set up an opportunity for my team to talk about finances, investing, saving money, and I put it in the general group. I said, who wants to be part of this team? Whoever wanted to be part of it, we created a private team and invited them. If you were not part of this group, you wouldn't even see this here. So it reduces your clutter on the screen. So that's a good case though, where we only set up a group for personal finances. And in the personal finances group, we had conversations about books, we shared files, we had a wiki. I'll get to the wiki in a second. But you can kind of see how this team is structured. Every team has a general thread, a general, I think, what are these called? Channels. So they call them channels. It's kind of a little bit confusing, but what you'll do is you'll have different channels around the team. And remember, the purpose of the team is a group of people serving a common cause. So you might have a marketing team, and it might be 3 people, it might be 2 people. You can even have a team for just your own stuff. That might sound crazy, but the reason why you might want to do that is just to organize your own thoughts and have your own wiki, have your own personal files, and just to put everything inside of Teams, just to keep everything organized. And you can do to-do lists, etc. And so a lot of people I know will have their own personal Peter Wolf team. Okay. So the teams are based around common security rights and common purposes. And then within the team, you might have different channels. By default, there's a general channel. This is one of those things that I wish that Microsoft would allow us to change this. I don't really like the word general here. I'd like to have start here, because like some of these that you start to have like multiple channels, it can get confusing to internal people, but also the customers. Why would you have a different channel? Well, one of the things about the chats is this can get really, I don't know how else to say it, but really stuff can get lost in here. You can see, like, you can scroll back in time, but it's really a pain in the ass to find things. So if you were sprinkling conversations about your certifications in with implementation, with customers, you know, stuff can get lost. So if you want to just have a certain specific channel for this team of people, you would create a channel for it. So under marketing, so this, just so you guys know, this is our outdated, this is the Quanta CRM team. In our real team in Azamba, we have general, we have conference 2019, we have website. So you have different topics, and that way everything related to the website goes into the website channel. Everything related to the conference goes into the conference channel. It just keeps everything more organized. Under each channel, and I'm going to throw a lot at you guys here. This is where it gets confusing. I'm going to come back and wrap it up with some best tips and tricks and strategies on how to organize all this stuff, because it can get messy quickly. So under each channel, I'm going to just stick with the Quanta CRM team. You can have different channels, and under each channel, you can have different tabs. So the tabs out of the box are conversations. This is where your chat happens. So this is where you communicate with people and you reply and do that. You put files in here, so you can upload files. So it's still using SharePoint behind the scenes, but it organizes things and makes it easier to find. I hate SharePoint. I don't know how many of you use SharePoint. Some people love it, but I think it's clunky. It's hard to find things. It's not as intuitive. The Teams puts a wrapper around it, so it just makes it easier to find files. And again, I'm going to put a pin in that because I'm going to come back to it, because it makes it easier, but it also makes it harder in a way, and I'm going to come back to that. There's a wiki. The wiki is super limited. This is one of my least favorite parts of Teams. Is first of all, your wiki looks like this. You get an untitled page, you get an untitled section. So it just is Quanta CRM wiki. This section is how to use Teams. Don't forget to @mention if you want a response. Just putting chat in will be ignored. Okay, so this is nice. I can type little notes in here. That's great, but check this out. So if I want to make a list of things, which people do, this is number 1, this is 2, that's great. But now if I want to indent, which, I mean, how many times do we make a list that you want to indent? I mean, for me, probably 9 times out of 10. But if I indent, it puts it at 1. And there's really no way to control this. I know this is small, but let's put it this way. The wiki is limited, okay? So it's just something that you have to deal with. The other thing about the wiki is, so I can just keep writing and writing on here, and you can add new wikis in. So you can create a new page with different information. You can organize it. Your wikis will be out of control very quickly unless you come up with standards and talk about how you want to structure things. When is it a new page versus a new section? Because you can do different new sections within a page. So you're going to want to talk about that internally and discuss it. Luckily, though, there's another way of doing things. And there's this plus tab here. Oh, sorry, guys. So those three tabs are the default. You can add additional tabs by hitting plus notes. So this meeting notes is probably a wiki that has been specifically titled meeting notes. No one put anything in here. It's junk. But what you can do is you can do a plus thing, and you can add a specific tab for almost anything you can imagine, even external applications. Like if you use Trello, you can put a link to Trello. If you use Yammer, you can put a link to Yammer. So you have a lot of flexibility as far as what you can do. One thing, if you're using like Evernote, I think Evernote's in here as well. So I know a lot of you use Evernote, so you can make an Evernote tab. So instead of dealing with the out-of-the-box wiki, which is horrible, you can make a link to your Evernote and enjoy that structure. Or like for us internally, we use OneNote, so we did the same thing. If there's a common spreadsheet that like you always use for a certain customer, you can put that spreadsheet in there. So like if you have a customer that fills out a issues list in a spreadsheet format, you can just put that Excel document in there. I don't think I can do this because I don't have any Excel documents in there. But if I had, so first you'd have to load it to the files area, and then when you hit the plus sign, it would say which Excel spreadsheet you want to use, and you would just pick that one. So the cool thing about that is when you click it, it'll come up and show you that spreadsheet, and you can just go right into edit mode right away. You don't have to go send someone the file. You don't have to go find the file. It's just right there in the channel. You can also use, a lot of people use the Microsoft Planner. It's like a Trello substitute. I personally detest it. I think it's clunky and cumbersome. But the key takeaway here is if there's something that you're using a lot of or doing a lot with, you can go ahead and add a tab for it. That is a really powerful way of organizing things and making sure people are using the tool to its maximum capability. I've thrown a lot at you. Is there any questions?
Yeah, we've got a question. Are the wikis searchable?
Yeah, so the wikis are searchable, but not very easily. It's one of my biggest points of advice is probably don't use the wikis. If you're using Evernote, just put a tab in for Evernote. If you're not using Evernote, I would use OneNote. Just save yourself a lot of hassle. The wiki needs to come a long way before it's really useful. What we use it for is just making like a list of real simple things of stuff that we have to do for this particular customer or this project. Like if it's under the marketing website, we'd say, here's the top 10 things we want to do in the website. And we cross them off one by one. It's honestly, just stay away from it. Hopefully that helps.
And so when you set up a team for working and collaborating with a customer, how do you invite the customer in? Do they obviously have to have Office 365?
Yes, great segue because that's exactly where I was going to go next. Any other questions right now about anything else besides customer teams?
There was one other comment, and Jim Wood had mentioned that there's no threading in the chat.
Yeah, there's no threading in the chat. Yeah, so I know DSD is using Teams. Not only is there no threading, I mean, there is threading to an extent. So, like, here's a conversation, and you can reply to it. So this is a reply. And so this conversation has this thread associated with it. Here's what always happens though, is someone will post, let's try out Teams going forward. And I'll be like, oh, that's great. Let's do that. And you can see I've actually just created a whole new comment chain. And what I should have done is, that's great, let's do that. So this is one of the most common problems with Teams is it's so easy to miss this reply button. And Microsoft supposedly is making this a little bit more intuitive, but for now, this is one of the #1 problems. It's so easy to create a new thread. The other thing is, I mentioned before that these threads are really hard to find. So you can search up here. And so like you can search for, search, and it'll kind of like lay out all the different things across time that had the word conference in this. It's not, in my opinion, the search kind of stinks. So just buyer beware that it's not always as simple to find things. And you should assume that these conversations, if you really want to save a conversation like a thread, what Microsoft needs to do is make it easy to save a thread like you can in Facebook or LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys know that, but in the upper right in a Facebook thread, you can hit the three dots and say save for later. Here you can copy the link, but it's just not really that simple to do. The other thing that's really handy in a thread, and I promise I'm going to go over to the customer setup in a second, but you can format, and I showed you this before, but in the teams and the channels, you actually get another little perk here. This is, you can put a title on these things. Pay attention. Super important info. So now when I do this, then I have to hit this little send thing. You can see it shows up with a title. So if I'm flying through here, I can see the important ones pop out a little bit. They need to improve this, and I think they will be, like you color code these things or whatever, but it's just a way to find information a little bit easier. So let me move on to the actual customer teams. So I've got two cases of customer teams in here. So last year, we did the Sage CRM Conference 2018. One of the things that we want to do is have some conversations going during the conference. So you're attending the conference, you're hearing people speak. If you have questions, put them in the conference team. So we invited everyone in the conference team. It was our first trial of getting people into a team, a collaborative team. And you can see in here, we got very little connections, but we did get some. So it was a good first step. You know, people did ask questions, and we responded to them at the team. That's why we responded to them at the conference in face-to-face. We didn't respond in here, but we probably should have kind of put it all in there as well. But this was our first attempt at doing that. And we also shared the videos. So people, after the conference was over, we recorded all the videos so they could watch them, and we put them all in the team so that they could watch them anytime they wanted. For a customer team, here's what we do. We set up a team with a customer name. What we do is out front, we change the icon, because one of the things is we want to make sure that everyone in our team knows that that's a customer external facing conversation. So don't say anything stupid that you wouldn't want the customer to see. So we change the icon, and we have different color codes for if it's a Microsoft Dynamics customer versus a Sage CRM customer. So green for Sage and blue for Dynamics. We also put an indicator that shows what stage they are in their system rollout. So we have different structured stages of the rollout, and we kind of put like a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on where they are. How do you invite people? It's pretty easy. You do manage team, add member, and you just put in their email address. The specific question was, do people have to have Office 365? No. We've invited people with Office, without Office, with Azure or Active Directory, without Active Directory. We have run into some problems, but we literally have hundreds of teams, customer teams right now, not hundreds, but about 100 customer teams right now. We've only had like 2 or 3 people, individuals with problems getting set up on teams. So what we've learned is just some workarounds for that. But if you guys are having any specific problems, I probably have to refer you to my tech support team on that. I don't know what they actually do to solve those problems, but for the most part, it's seamless. It's not a problem at all. One of the challenges that we have is, so like I am part of the DSD team now. And so if you have multiple teams that you're in, you'll see them show up right here in the upper right. Unfortunately, it's keyed to your email address. So like right now, I'm in the pwolf@Quanta CRM email address login, and I don't see anything else. If I was on my Azamba, I'd see 3 different teams. My DSD team, they invited me under my DSD email address, so I don't see the DSD team under here. They would need to invite me as pwolf@azamba.com so I could see that. So if you're in multiple teams, ideally you'd have them invite you with your primary email address so you can quickly toggle back and forth. Even that is kind of a pain, just so you all know, because you are essentially switching into a different team. So if I'm on the Azamba team, I'll see all my notifications, I'll see that someone's mentioned me, but if I switch over to my Microsoft team, anybody trying to get a hold of me on the Azamba team, I won't be able to see that. It's kind of annoying. And I will see up here in the teams, it'll give me a little red note that's saying that someone on Azamba is trying to get a hold of me, but I won't be able to see the message until I switch over to the Azamba team. it's not really that big of a pain, but it is one of those things that you get used to a certain level and you kind of are like, oh, that's annoying. But it's not really that big of a pain, but it can be frustrating to some people. I get it. So if a customer is using their own internal team and you set them up with your Azamba team, they're going to see two different things here. It's going to be kind of frustrating. What would be nice is if the teams worked across groups, and I don't know what technology magic that Microsoft would have to do to solve that problem, but I think that's something that I would like to see. Within the teams itself, so one of the things that we found to be very successful is you can set up a template team. So our template team for a new customer, we've got two, one for Sage customer and one for Dynamics customer. You have the conversations, we have the files. You'll see we got rid of the wiki. We've got this on-track hub. And so this is the web path that we created, and we're going to run out of time, so I'm not going to be able to share all this with you, but this is really cool. It shows up here. We train people to expand this, and they can go through the different stages of their CRM rollout, and then click on each stage and drill down, and it gives them step-by-step instructions, and there's more documents and more information, and there's videos here, but it kind of like leads them through step-by-step exactly what they need to do. Stuff in blue is stuff that they have to do. Stuff in purple and blue is stuff that we do together, and there's some stuff in purple that we just do. So it's just really a cool way to like kind of walk your customers through this. So if you have a new customer going live and maybe you don't have anything like this, but maybe you just have a simple project work plan that's an Excel workbook, put it in here, let them see it. So as much as you can do to get out of email and to collaborate with your customers, you know, get that going. We have our support portal in here. This isn't pretty. It's not designed for responsive web design. We're overhauling this right now, but this is where they can just log in and record a support portal. So this is another tip and trick. One of the things that we accomplished by moving to Teams was immediate interaction with our customers. One of the problems that we created for ourselves is customers naturally are asking tech support questions in here. Hey, my printer's not working. That's fine, but what was happening was, you know, you can see all these different teams. It starts to become a real freaking mess very quickly for your team to stay on top, your people to stay on top of all the different teams. And so what we've slowly done is we've encouraged customers, if it's a tech support question, click the support portal button. And, you know, it's not perfect. It's not auto logging in yet, but we're working towards that where it'll feed through the login automatically. But at least they don't have to go to a separate web page or pull up their browser or go find the support portal. It's all integrated into this conversation. And we still get customers asking tech support questions in the Teams conversations thread, and we will log the issue for them and we'll politely say, oh, by the way, in the future, just go to the support portal. That way you don't have to wait around for anybody and it'll go right to the tech support team. And so we're kind of just slowly and gently training our customers to go to the support portal through the Teams. But everything's in one place for them. So it's already better than what it used to be, which is they had to go to separate places for the on-track hub, for the support portal, email to talk to us, things like that. Another trick that we've learned is, and this is something that Wayne and I talked about a week or so ago, is how do you get engagement here? So anybody that's in any one of these Facebook groups or even, you know, 90 Minds, there's a reason why 90 Minds is so active is because people have learned new habits around using the software. But in the early days, you know, there was a danger of any group of it dying on the vine where nobody interacts. So we have, and I get it, not everyone can do this, but you can devote a certain amount of time to it. But we've dedicated one person to be what we call our CRM concierge. And so our concierge job is literally to watch over these things. So if anything's in black, they go there to make sure the customer didn't just say, I need a meeting, you know, out into the hallway, and they're not really directing it towards anybody with an app mention, so it goes unanswered. So our concierge is monitoring our customer teams to make sure that the customers are getting responses and gently guiding them and training them on how to use the software better and use the app mentions in the future, but also kind of starting conversations. So recently, you know, we just announced our Sage CRM 2019 conference. So our concierge, and this is kind of a pain, but he went to each team individually because there's no way to automate this just yet, and just posted in there, just want to let you all know about our upcoming conference. And that's just one example, but let's say, you know, you hear that Sage is now doing a new payroll tax table. I don't know. I don't know what you guys run into all the time, but you could go to each team and just say, just want to let you know about the tax table. And, if you want more information, just ping me back here and we can talk about it. Or, whatever those conversations are, you will need to put effort in to drive engagement. And even with all that, just again, a bell curve. Some customers, I don't know the pattern. I don't know why. It's just personalities. It's just different styles. We have some customers that have huge implementations of Sage CRM that use the teams religiously to communicate with us, and they love it. We have other customers with huge implementations that it's impossible to get them to respond to teams. They know it's there, and if we mention them, they will eventually respond. But generally speaking, there's no engagement from them. And we have small customers that we see the same thing. So massive engagement and no engagement. So it's not customer size, it's just customer personality. How do we address that? Honestly, I'm still looking for an answer there. We're just trying to drive engagement. We're trying to drive people to the teams. When we send out emails, we say it's in your team. So, please go there and we can have a conversation around it. We're just trying to slowly and steadily guide behavior towards the teams because we find that it's in their best interest and it's in our best interest. There's a lot more I could cover here. So some of the best practices. So I mentioned before about how this can get out of control, like multiple channels, multiple teams. Here's some key advice. If you have a bigger group, have 1 or 2 people be in charge of your teams initially, at least until you get the hang of it. We have one person that creates teams for us. It's not me either, because that person then can say, oh no, there's already a team that does that. Or why are we doing this? Why isn't that just a channel under this? Or why isn't it just, better yet, a tab under a current channel? It's better, less is more. So it's better to have fewer teams, fewer channels, more tabs. The tabs are functional in nature. So, like with our customers, you set up tabs that you think will be useful for people. If you're all using a spreadsheet, like a time tracking spreadsheet, put it in as a tab. No more do people have to go looking around the network for their time sheet or looking around, or asking someone to email it to them or whatever. It's all just right there. So more channels is better. More tabs is better, fewer channels, fewer teams. We screwed up initially, and we're still screwing up. We're still learning, but we've created some things. Wall of value is our set of add-ons that we offer. So if you're on one of our on-track plans, we have add-ons that we offer at no charge. It's part of our goal to increase the value of our subscription service. So wall of value is that. My lead developer built this, and I said, well, why don't we just make it part of this Quanta CRM group? He goes, oh no, this is just specifically to discuss wall of value. And what I found is he's added everyone into our company into this wall of value team. And really, my instinct was right in the first place. The purpose of teams is people with shared security roles. So if everyone in the company is going to see something, I would just make it a channel under the team, a current team, or just keep it in the current channel if you can. This group is a ghost town. And so, it really has no purpose being here. Why am I making a big deal about that? Because again, it's proliferation of data, and most of us are already drowning in too much information. So the goal of this tool is to be more organized, more streamlined, more effective, more efficient. And the more teams you have, the worse it gets. Specifically for customers, one of the biggest beefs that I have is Microsoft requires you, again, it's because the team is built around security. For every customer, we have a separate team. It's like a horror show. Managing all these different teams, and so you can so these teams up top are your favorited ones. So if you don't favorite something, they'll fall below into other teams. That's fine. If you're working with customers all the time, you want to favorite them so you see them up here. But for the most part, having all those different teams is horrible. I'd rather just have them all be channels under a specific team. But if you think about the way Teams is built, a team is around security. So it makes sense if I'm working with Precision Tools, CFO, they're going to be in their team. And ABC company is going to have their own team because it's around security. This is one of the most requested enhancements, and soon Microsoft's going to change that. So for the future, you're going to be able to you're going to have an external customers teams, and you're going to have Precision Tools as a channel, ABC company as a channel, and it'll be a lot easier to organize these things. Let's see. Another quick little thing a lot of people don't know about is you can organize your teams. It's not alphabetical. You can see it's kind of a mishmash. It's a real mess here, but you can drag and drop these teams. So, and this personally, so I put Quanta up here and On Track right below it. Those are my most important teams. So you can organize these things. So not only do you favorite them, but you can drag and drop them so they appear in the order that you want. It just is just a quick way to organize these things. Let's see. So I'm kind of running out of time. I want to answer any questions. I can go longer if people have more questions. I'm also happy to do a follow-up, but we're still learning. It's an important tool. It's an effective tool. It keeps us more organized. And if you open it up to your customers, yes, you do need to drive engagement. Do not assume that you build it and they will come. They will not. And even if you do try to drive engagement, some people are just going to sit in the back of the room and with their head down and not get involved, but that's okay. You can't help everybody get engaged in this way. But I think most of your customers will find it to be an amazing tool.
We did have a couple more questions. One was, are you using this tool for your internal knowledge base?
Yeah, so right now, that's the short answer is no, not yet. We are switching over to Microsoft Dynamics customer engagement for our support portal and our knowledge base because it's specifically designed for that. This tool is not very easily searchable, so I can't imagine anybody using this as a knowledge base.
Okay. Then when you do a search, so you had an example of you doing a search, will anything that's in OneNote also show up in the search?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think it'll search across the applications and the tabs. I think it only searches across the conversations files and internal wiki.
Okay. Do your support tickets flow out of this into your CRM?
Yeah, so what they do is right now, they go to the support portal. Our next initiative, and we're already starting to work on this, is we're creating a bot. Microsoft has made it really simple to make a bot. So we're making just a conversational Q&A bot. And so it's just like a frequently asked question. So you'll be able to say, hey, @OnTrackBot, how do I reset my login? I got a user that's logged out. And it'll say, here's what you do. And the hope is it'll kind of answer some preliminary questions and give people directions to find the materials. But down the road, what we want to do is make a bot that says, hey, @OnTrackBot, can you log a ticket for me? And the bot will go through a series of diagnostic questions that will then feed it into our Microsoft CRM support portal, which will then feed it to our support desk. And so that's kind of the goal. And we're going to have that done by the end of this year.
Great. That's it. Those are all the questions that we had so far, unless anybody else has any.
Okay, so guys, I hope this was helpful for you all. As you can probably tell, I'm a big freaking fan of this. And maybe it's because I feel like we were in the ghetto before as far as how we were using our tools, and everything was very bifurcated and separated and siloed. Now we're all on the same page. We're not perfect, that's for sure, but it's a lot better to have everything in one place. And we are learning very quickly. I recommend that you all try this out with one or two of your best customers and just explain to them what you're doing and just see how it works out. My guess is you're going to find what we found. Customers are loving this stuff. People are used to the instant, and they demand the instant feedback. Email no longer cuts it. Phone calls no longer cut it for most people.
Thank you so much, Peter. It was an excellent presentation. I really appreciate you putting it together for us today. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I'll make sure this recording is available on Higher Logic.
Yeah, and if anybody has any follow-up questions, post it in the 90 Minds group, or you can feel free to call me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.